Let's continue here on America's Forum. Very interesting. Yesterday, a guy I know pretty well, Arizona Senator John McCain, highly critical of Martin Dempsey, the general who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He said it's time for this guy to go. And one of the reasons for that, the concerns about our military readiness and what's happening in the Middle East. And that's why we are so pleased to call on our next guest who joins us in studio, Dr. Robert Rabil, Middle East expert and professor at Florida Atlantic University.
Thank you, Congressman, for having me again and again. And Ms. Khan, thank you again for having me.
It's a pleasure. Always good
It's my pleasure.
So General Dempsey has some concerns. Senator McCain has concerns about General Dempsey. What are your concerns about what's going on with ISIS and what's happening now?
Okay, well, this is a very good question. My concern and the concern of this nation is that now the Iraqi government, supported by the militia, the Iraqi militia, and of course sponsored by the Iranians, are taking over Tikrit. The most important thing now is for the U.S. government to work with the Iraqi government so as to make sure there are no executions, no massacres take place. And most important also, as we speak now today, the next step is to go over Mosul. And we have to define our role, what our role is going to be. Why? Because we did not have a military role in Tikrit. So really now, what's the next step? What is our role? And how we are going to make sure that to limit the influence of the Iranians in Iraq. Some I hear that they don't want that influence. Some they are complaining about the influence. Now the question is how you are going to limit that influence. They have been in Iraq for quite some time. They were the first there to go and fight ISIS. And now our position should be what to do about it with our allies. And when I speak about our allies, I speak especially now about Saudi Arabia. I speak about the Kurds. And I speak about how we're going to make the Iraqi government more professional and the Iraqi army have a better esprit de corps.
Professor, let me ask you,
please.
First off, do you think that we're going to be successful, or I should say Iraq will be successful, in taking it away from ISIS, and will they be able to hold on to Tikrit? Because even if we were to go in there and our allies and back them up, we're going to go away eventually. And is Iraq strong enough to hold their ground?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I feel yes. I feel that the Iraqi government, they have already 30,000. Now, I have to point out something. They have 18,000 militia. But the point is, they have 30,000. They are going there. We are indeed degrading ISIS. So ISIS
you
is
think
being...
so?
Oh, absolutely. Now, it's being degraded.
That they're spreading.
Yeah, well, yes. Degraded in Iraq. And a little bit in Syria, but spreading throughout the world. Now, this is a major concern, but beside the point as what's happening in Iraq and Syria, and especially in Iraq, I believe the Iraqi government, if it keeps the momentum, if it works now better with the Kurds, I know I have some certain information now. You have certain tribes, Sunni tribes, are joining the effort. I am somehow cautiously optimistic that with the right guidance, cooperation with the United States, the Iraqi government I'm talking, they can go and degrade further and further ISIS in Iraq and then hopefully in Syria as well.
Well, so rarely do we get these optimistic notes that we really almost need to pause. A cautious optimism it may be.
I saw him smile. I did.
Well, sadly, there are some other things going on that merit our attention. And Robert Rabil, we're going to ask you to stay right here because the whole notion of ISIS having children execute the people they get their hands on, that's a disturbing story that we will get to following this Newsmax Now update.